It's one of those weeks where the atmosphere is just showing off. I've got a lot to unpack for you today. And let me tell you right up front, this isn't your average forecast. We've got two storms, Alda and Umberto, locked in a strange and almost cinematic dance off the Florida coast. We've got heat. I'm talking scorching, record-challenging heat that's about to balloon across the heart of the country. And yes, there's even a suspicious little patch of energy stirring in the northern Gulf that could try to spin up into something tropical as we move toward the weekend. So let's jump in, because the story unfolding in the tropics right now is unlike anything we've seen in quite some time. Picture this. Just off the coast of Florida, we've got Tropical Storm Alda. At first glance, you might shrug it off. It doesn't look all that impressive. Kind of ragged, surrounded by dry air, almost struggling to pull itself together. But the thing about storms like this is, you can't take them at face value. Later today, Alda is expected to cross that line into hurricane status. Now here's where things get fascinating. Alda isn't out there alone. To its east, we've got Umberto, and these two have been circling each other like dance partners who can't quite decide if they're in love or in competition. This rare setup is what we call the Fujiwara effect, when two cyclones get so close that they begin to orbit one another. It's rare, it's powerful, and it can completely change the forecast. Think about this for a second. The last time we saw something like this play out, it was Helen last year, when two systems collided into one monster storm and unleashed catastrophic flooding. That's how serious this interaction can be. Now, the good news for us along the US coast is that Umberto is sprinting northward, moving much faster, almost pulling Alda out to sea with it. For Bermuda, though, it's a different story. By late Wednesday into Thursday, Alda will be knocking on the door. We're talking the potential for hurricane-force winds, storm surge pushing up onto the island, and torrential rains that could lead to flooding. If you've got ties to Bermuda, that's when you need to be paying very close attention. And while that's happening, Alda's reach is already enormous. Its outflow stretches all the way into the northeast. Yes, if you've been under gloomy skies in New York, Ohio, or New England these past couple of days, you can thank Alda for that blanket of cloud cover. Even parts of the Carolinas have been dealing with showers courtesy of its outer bands. This is a storm with tentacles reaching far and wide. Now, as the week goes on, these two storms, Alda and Umberto, are going to come dangerously close, almost like they're holding hands as they spin. But by Friday, Umberto will accelerate away to the north and east, leaving Alda to drift alone in the western Atlantic. That's when the models start to disagree. Most say Alda just sweeps out to sea. A couple whisper about the chance of a loop back toward the south, but nothing suggests it will ever menace the US coast. For us, that's good news. For weather lovers, it's just pure drama to watch unfold. But the tropics aren't the only story. Let's swing back home because there's something big brewing here on land, the heat. We're not talking about a few warm afternoons. We're talking about a full-blown October heat wave ready to torch the central US. Millions of people across the plains and Midwest are about to see temperatures surge 15, even 20 degrees above normal. Highs in the 80s and 90s, all the way up into the Dakotas and Minnesota, in October. That's the kind of heat that makes you shake your head and wonder how we skipped straight from early fall back into midsummer. Meanwhile, the Northeast is living in a different world altogether. Highs in the 50s, crisp fall air, leaves changing. Almost like two countries experiencing two completely different seasons at the same time. Out west, cooler than normal temps will be hanging on too. But the real spotlight, the real shocker, is this central US heat dome that just won't quit. And by this weekend, Saturday into Sunday, it'll be peaking, blazing across the plains, pressing into the Midwest, even stretching toward the Great Lakes. And while all of that is unfolding, I'll be watching the Gulf. Saturday into Sunday, convection could flare back up there, maybe enough to try to spin into a weak tropical system. Odds are low, but the Gulf is warm, the air is unstable, and it only takes a spark. If anything does pop, it would likely drift right into the Gulf Coast, bringing localized flooding and rain. Nothing major at this point, but definitely worth keeping on the radar. Now, I've been tracking these systems day and night. And let me just say this. The setup we're looking at right now is rare, it's powerful, and it's going to keep me, and probably you too, on the edge of our seats. Alda is on the move, and by the time we get into tomorrow night, the core of that storm could be right over Bermuda or sliding just to the south. That tiny difference in track? That's the line between a rough night and potentially devastating winds. We're talking 70, 80, even 90 miles per hour gusts for a stretch of time. Enough to rip branches, toss debris, and make the seas downright dangerous. And let me pause here to say something important. I know I've got a lot of friends from Bermuda who watch these updates and drop comments in the section below. You all know how to prepare better than just about anyone on Earth. But even for the best prepared islands, a direct hurricane hit is no small thing. So tonight, tomorrow, and especially tomorrow night, I'll be tracking this with you step by step. You're not alone in this, but we're not just looking at Alda, no way. Umberto is still spinning out there, just close enough to add insult to injury. Tropical storm-like conditions today, high seas, dangerous surf, even before Alda makes its approach. Think of it as storm number 1 softening the ground, then storm number 2, Alda, coming in with the real punch. By late Wednesday into early Thursday morning, that's when we'll see the worst. Heavy rain, 2 to 4 inches possible, hurricane-force winds, and seas that could turn downright violent. And it doesn't stop with Bermuda. Nope, the story stretches way beyond. Because the Atlantic is buzzing with new energy. I'm watching tropical waves rolling off Africa, and let me tell you, one of them is showing some real potential. The European model is picking up on it, the American model too. We could be looking at a 50-60% chance of development as that wave drifts closer to the Caribbean in the next week. And when I look at the sea surface temps, still boiling hot in the Caribbean and Gulf, that's fuel. That's trouble waiting for the right spark. And speaking of the Gulf, this weekend could get interesting. Some of our models are sniffing out possible quick development in the northern Gulf. Now, I'm not saying we're about to see a full-fledged storm there. But when multiple models pick up on the same thing, my attention locks in, especially with that bathwater-warm Gulf sitting there. All it takes is the right spin and boom, we've got another system to track. Meanwhile, parts of the Bahamas, Florida, the Carolinas, you're not out of this picture either. Even as these big-name storms stay offshore, the indirect impacts are clear. Spotty tropical showers, fast-moving downpours, beach erosion, and dangerous rip currents. The ocean doesn't care if the center of the storm is 100 miles away. The waves and surge can still cause serious problems. And as we look toward Central America and the Caribbean islands, there's been steady rain. Some places like Guatemala and El Salvador have already been drenched with heavier bands. That's what these tropical waves do. Even before they turn into organized storms, they can bring flooding rain. And I'll say this again. Flooding, not just wind, is often the deadliest part of these systems. So here's the bottom line. Right now, Bermuda is the big story. Alda is on your doorstep. Umberto is close enough to cause problems, and tomorrow night into early Thursday is going to be the window where things get rough. But at the same time, I'm not taking my eyes off the rest of the Atlantic. A new tropical wave with strong development chances is heading toward the Caribbean. And closer to home? The Gulf may have a surprise for us heading into the weekend. Hurricane season is far from over. In fact, I'd say the next 2 weeks are shaping up to be some of the busiest we've seen this year. I'll be here with you every step of the way, breaking it down storm by storm, island by island, coast by coast. So if you're in Bermuda, please stay safe, make those last-minute preparations, and know I'll be tracking this with you. And for everyone else, whether you're in Florida, the Carolinas, the Gulf Coast, or across the Caribbean, keep an eye out. This season is just heating up, and there's a lot more to come.